My brother became mayor. I tell him maybe I did a good job, that's why he became mayor. But because Bogota has 1/10 the per capita income of places like Canada or the US. You know, between 1995 and 2001, we designed and built 5 metropolitan parks, 50 zone parks, and over 800 neighborhood parks. And you know, that's when we were saying, you know, our parks and public spaces good just for rich countries? Obviously they are not. We gotta really think outside the box, because this is really what is going to improve the quality of life for all, even if it's a little bit risky thinking outside the box. But there is so much more outside the box. This park is 360 hectares in the heart of the city. The Pope came, gave a mass for 1 million people, and the city closed the park and nothing had been done in 25 years. There were no sidewalks, there were no paths, there was not a bench, there was not a garbage, nothing. They only planted trees. And in 36 months, we turned this into this. A wonderful park with sidewalks and bikeways. By the way, this was the first bikeway that we did in the city, and it had a lot of, after we went to Velocity, and look, playgrounds and areas for concerts and wave pools, and we got a partner with others, with beautiful libraries, and then, you know, things for, a little bit for competitive sport, but most of it is sport for all, participatory sport, places where people can go and fly the kites, and it's nice to bring the international kite flyers so people get motivated, but it's nicer when thousands and thousands of people fly their own kites, and then places to run and bike and skate and do all kinds of other activities and create festivals. We created the summer festival that has become the most important festival in the country. The first year we had 10 days, over 3 million people, and now it's like in the 11th version by now. And these were some of the things, you know, and the park, as you can see on any Sunday, is pretty well used. And then linear parks. I love linear parks because they connect. They connect people with people, residential areas and commercial. This is a linear park of 29 kilometers across the city. Started in one of the wealthiest areas of the city, though the people wanted flower shops, so that's what we put. And then gymnasium. And then we started crossing the city. Every major arterial crossed with a bridge so that the cyclists would never have to stop. And it ended in the Bogota River. This was before, and this is after. And it's one of the poorest areas of the city, so we ended up connecting some of the poorest neighborhoods with some of the wealthiest through a path and walking and cycling. And now in Ontario, with Walk and Bike for Life, we're working with the Ministry of Health Promotion. It's very interesting. One of the best partners to get any project around Move 2009 is public health, because they got so much credibility. Sometimes you talk about walking, and people say, oh yeah, that's fun and games. But when you bring the health officer on board, talking about life and death, then people do pay attention. And in Ontario, we're working at 36 communities where the ministry hires to go and engage the public and come up with action plans. Not just talk, but action plans. So we did go there, like Sudbury, we went and it was -35, and we met with the community, and we went to the city council and the mayors, we went to the universities, we went also to the elementary schools to see, and actually at the elementary school something interesting happened. We asked, you know, if Sudbury was more walkable, what would it be like? And this kid that I think he's going to be mayor one day, he said, so more people would want to stay, and more people would want to come and visit. You know, this is very interesting because he's only 11, and he made the connection that a walkable city has to do with economic vibrancy. Why do I say it was interesting? Because 2 nights before, we had been at this university, and we asked the people, you know, where would you like to be 10 years from now, 10 or 20 years? And someone said jokingly, anywhere but here. And we said, does anybody agree anywhere but here? And 80% of the people raised their hands. So there is a major problem when you live in a city that your best people, that are the ones that are being trained in the best universities, want to live. So when he says, you know, if Sudbury was more walkable, more people will want to live here, that is fantastic, making those connections, you know. And then I want to show you a little bit about the Metropolitan Park in Guadalajara, because actually ISCA is a partner in this process, helping now to get it developed. Liliana Ortiz, who is a member of the board, was there. And what we did is this. When we go to the public places, we have to listen to the community. You know, the community is the expert, you know. We need architects to help us implement what the community wants, but the what do they want is the community. Then we got to work on the how and the where with the architects and other professionals, and then the when and management with the public and private sector. So this is the park, it's 124 hectares, and we are doing it right now. It's being created. This is what it looks like, and it's quite interesting. Very few areas are well used. Most of it is empty and doesn't really have any water, so they got to bring the water. So on the what, for the what, we created a team and we started working on the what, and we did a lot of public engagement. We went to the park, and we had meetings, we had public meetings on the weekdays, on the weekends, we did presentations, we did surveys, we also did one-on-one interviews with the people that were more influential in the area. We met with the mayors. Here's Liliana, working hard, so Iska, your board member, wasn't there on vacation. And we listened to everybody, and we did some surveys, and we did some polls, and we did focus groups, and then we invited the people, and then a lot of ideas came. People came in the workshops and started drawing what kind of things they wanted, and then we put this into a big chart, and this, when we had this in mind, on the things that the community wanted, when the community said exactly what it is that they wanted to do, then we created a contest. And we invited the architects, and we said, okay, this is what the community wants, this is the what. Now go and do your competition and tell us how and where, because you are the experts in that. So maybe the community wants to run, but they don't know if it should be 2 meters wide or 5 meters wide, if it should be winding or not, the materials and so on. So then we had a competition, and this is the firm that won, and they did a really nice study, thinking the park throughout the years, the land and so on. And then now we're working in the when and the management. And actually 2 weeks ago, we brought 15 people to New York to visit parks managed by the public sector, by the private sector, and different ones. So it was very interesting. And the last example I want to show, because uses and activities are so important, is Bryant Park in New York. You know, Bryant Park is a park that used to be called Needle Park because there were so many people injecting drugs. And all of the neighbors were begging the mayor to sell the lot and put up a building. Because when public space is not properly used, either people take it, or people sell it, or people give it away. But thank God they didn't do that, because now it has become one of the best urban parks in the world, and best used. You can get there walking, you can get there cycling, you can get there in public transit, and it's very wide open. When you're walking around the street, you see what's happening inside, so it's very transparent, and then good maintenance. The signage is very discreet, very nice. But more than anything, you know, with regards to management, management is not just about picking up the garbage and cutting the grass. That might be 20% of it. Management is much more than that. Management is getting the community engaged, working with the cultural groups, with the environmental groups, with the universities, with the high schools, developing activities, events, programs, and so on, having internet use in the park, and having places where people can buy drinks, and also where the older people can go in, but also the children can play, having reading rooms for the children, where they can loan books every day. And you know, when you're in a nice place, you see a lot of people taking photos, because people want to take a souvenir, and then water fountains, and flower shops, and flexibility. You go in the summer, and they got umbrellas. Then you go back in the winter, and they have a tent. So the place is used throughout the year. You go in the daytime on the weekdays, and people are sitting watching each other, and then you go Sunday mornings, and the people are playing bocce. So flexibility of the public places are very, very, and it's not a very big park. This is what the park is. And they have knitting lessons, and they got yoga, and they got every day of the week, they got all kinds of things for free. You go to the public washroom, you got fresh cut flowers at the entrance. So people behave really nice, because you go into a place that, oh my God, has fresh cut flowers, and they got the carousels, and quite nice. And you know, something that they got really nice about the park, and the flexibility. I went at noon, they were having a concert. I went back at night, they were having a movie. And you know, something that is quite interesting in this place is the seats. Movable seats, because people do all kinds of crazy things in these chairs, and then you actually can know what the day was like. People go to study, people go to sleep, people go to play chess, all kinds. And you know, at the end of the day, you have almost like an X-ray of where people did, where people moved in the park. So that's why I think that successful public places, maybe a third of it is design, but 2/3 is management, and we have to invest in the management of the public places. So in conclusion, we got some challenges, but more than that, we got fantastic opportunities in every one of our cities. But we got to think, what kind of cities are we going to build? How do we want to live? It's clearly it's not about the money. It is about priorities. Jan showed wonderful things they're doing in New York with a little bit of paint, but a huge amount of political will, you know, and decision making. It's not a technical issue. Someplace, somewhere, they're going to tell you how to do it. It is a political issue. That's why we need leadership. And leadership is not just the mayor, but it's hundreds of leaders. We need leaders in the schools, in the business, everywhere. 2, we need political will. politicians that say that the general interest must prevail over the particular. 3, we need doers in the public sector. You know, the people who say it cannot be done should step aside so that the people doing actually can do. You know, the people that work in the public sector got to remind every day that every other week the citizens are paying them a salary is to get things done, not to have 20 reasons why things cannot be done. And we need public engagement. The public cannot just complain and complain to their next door neighbor. No, they gotta go out and call, write letters to the editor, communicate with their elected officials, go to public meetings, and so on. And then we need a sense of urgency. I mean, well, we're gonna grow by 3 billion people in the world in the next 40 years. We don't have too much time to think. We have to do. So we have to develop a shared vision of the kind of community that we want in each one of our cities. But like Sarah Bannon used to say, the world needs dreamers and the world needs doers. But above all, the world needs dreamers who do. So once we dream, we gotta work and work and work. And with a shared vision and a lot of work, we can transform our cities and our communities. You know, the ducks are in a row. But it's about doing things right. But more important than doing things right, it's about doing the right things. So I just want to end by suggesting to enjoy Move 2009, learn from everyone that is sitting right next to you, behind, in front, and so on. But then enjoy beautiful Copenhagen, one of the nicest cities in the world. And then all of this will recharge your batteries so that this week we talk about walking. Next week we go back and we walk the talk. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.